It's the new Replay magazine. Just came out yesterday. Actually, it's really good. I'm actually quite enjoying it.
Oh, is it? Well, I don't know what to tell you. So.
The remote's over there. And you're sitting on the road.
Yeah, I'm not. I would feel it if I was sitting on it.
You are sitting on the.
I'm not sitting on it. You're sitting on it.
I'm not. Sitting
oh right, stand up, get up.
I'm up. Oh.
Right, there's your foot. There it is. Right, I told you.
God, so horrible.
Tonight on Crime Watch, how has Replay used, developed and challenged conventions of other music magazines? Our first case today, we'll be looking at new music magazine Replay and how it's been using conventions of other music magazines such as Q. So, we can first look at, on Q we have 4 different circles here and they have smaller pictures. If a bigger picture was used, it would overpower the page next to a main story. Whereas with circles, it adds a nice touch to the story's headline without claiming too much of the page. Another way in which Replay uses conventions of other music magazines is here, on the contents page. As you can see, numbers are clearly marked and cut into a picture, and has been done on pre-existing magazines here and here. This is a sophisticated but at the same time simple way of giving page numbers and makes it easily accessible for readers to find the page they want. The final way in which Replay has used conventions of other music magazines is here in the double page spread. As we can see, quotes from the article have been embedded into the text structure, and this helps to break down the text a bit, but also to add a bit of colour to the big block of text. You can see here that I've developed it slightly from the original Q magazine by keeping consistent to the house style of my magazine, using the blues that are shown throughout the rest of the magazine, and also fonts that are shown throughout the rest of the magazine. Our second case revolves around the fact that Replay has been developing conventions of other music magazines. And we can see in this Q magazine here that a large banner has been used to show some of the other stories that are shown in Q's magazine. Replay liked this idea, so decided to carry it out with their own banner. However, they felt if it was too large, it would cover too much of the main picture, so therefore decided to compress it down into a smaller banner which just had a quote on. Another common feature of music magazines is they will usually have a consistent colour scheme, usually of around 3 different colours with one primary colour. But with Replay, they have developed this by using a blue, which is usually very rare on a music magazine. However, blue still remains striking and appealing, and shares no connotations with one specific music genre. One more way in which Replay uses and develops conventions of a music magazine is through here, its contents page. As you can see, the original Q magazine contents page uses page numbers larger than the rest of the text. This is done to appeal and attract an audience and to tell them exactly which numbers they need to go to see the stories. Replay have done this themselves, but have also developed the idea by putting them in white boxes, which further enhances the effect of standing out to an audience. Our third and final case is how Replay has been challenging conventions of other music magazines. As we can see in this cover here, a smile has been used, and this is very rare for music magazines of the same kind. But Replay state that it shows her personality and the artist as a whole. She's a girl who is happy with where she is in her career and her life, so why wouldn't she be happy? Another way in which Replay is challenging the conventions of music magazines is here on the cover. As you can see, there's a strip along the side here with artist names. Replay say that they only saw this in one magazine cover they explored, but said they would incorporate it into their design like a regular convention of their magazine. Anyway, that's all we have time for tonight. So from me and the team, it's a good evening and goodbye.
Can you turn that back, please, Dan? I was watching that.
Well, you're reading your Replay magazine, so.
Actually, keep going on. I quite like David Attenborough.
Yeah, he's your man crush, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, he is actually. He's 84, you know.
Yeah, well.
All of the artists or models used in Replay are young humans. This is done to attract an also young audience who want role models that are trendy, attractive and successful. Such are the artists shown in this magazine. The group Alive and Kicking resemble the rebellious, young to middle-aged, hormonal male species. Dressed in dark clothing with moody facial expressions and pictured seemingly dangerously on a train track, this shows their don't give a damn kind of attitude. The use of a low angle has been used to show that sort of social group like to see themselves as powerful and of high status compared to other social groups of their age. This attitude has also been demonstrated in the lines used in their article, with words or phrases such as "we were a little fucked up," "swagger," and "echoes" to demonstrate their dominance. The difference between masculinity and femininity is highlighted throughout this magazine, where males such as Alive and Kicking are generally seen as the rebellious and dominant gender. Women in this magazine are portrayed as attractive, shy and concealed. The artist who fronts the cover of Replay, Clara, demonstrates this reserved acoustic female singer. The fact that she is indeed the cover girl shows that even girls like Clara can still be confident and bold in their image. This isn't just a masculine and feminine vibe though, as the presence of Keaton Arnold demonstrates that youth isn't pigeonholed into one or another. Keaton is a polite, clean-faced youth who is pictured in a smart shirt to show that males can be as presentable and reserved as females can.
Hey, keep this on, Dan. I quite like Mastermind.
Oh, do you? Yeah, pass.
Ooh.
And your name is?
Catherine Chellenor.
Your occupation?
I'm the Retail Sales Director of Market Force.
Your name is?
Stephen Warner,
Your occupation?
CEO of Warner Distribution Group.
And your name is?
Frank Streetman,
Your occupation?
the Managing Director of Frontline.
And your specialist subject?
Why Market Force should be the one to distribute Replay.
Why Warner should be the one to distribute Replay. Why Frontline should be the one to distribute Music Magazine Replay.
Okay, you have 2 minutes on the clock. Your time starts now. How large is your company?
Warner Group employs just over 190 staff and publishes and distributes over 30 magazine titles.
Frontline is the largest magazine distributor in the UK. We have 42% of the market and we sell over 309 million copies of our 800 different magazines last year.
Market Force represents over 28% of the magazine market.
What type of magazines do you distribute?
We mainly distribute the specialist magazine titles such as the Camping Magazine, BRM and the Stamping Coin Mart. Therefore, we know exactly who to distribute each magazine title to.
We work to distribute some of the production company IPC Media's magazines. On top of that, we also produce some popular magazines such as Hello and Farmers Weekly.
The Heat magazine, Radio Times and FHM are some of the largest names that we distribute, but we also distribute existing music magazines such as Q, Mojo and Kerrang.
What do you pride yourselves on?
The 230 talented people who work at Frontline, they are really the ones who make the business the success that it is.
In Warner's Group Publications plc, understanding the diversity of niche markets is the key to our success.
We operate across 89 different magazine sectors and have in-depth knowledge and experience working with mass market to niche titles.
And who do you commonly distribute to?
Warner Distribution has an excellent relationship with wholesale groups and all the major retail channels in the UK, such as WH Smith, the TM Retail Group and supermarkets.
We trade with some of the biggest retailers through to specialist newsagents and small independent shops.
So, to recap, Warner Group Publications have a fantastic relationship with retailers, which would mean it wouldn't be a problem in where Replay could be distributed. However, they only distribute magazines with only niche audiences, the complete opposite to Replay, so would struggle in providing to a mass market. Market Force have experience in providing services for all types of magazines and are a relatively large company, but they are in a practical partnership with IPC Media, who they mainly focus on. With Replay not being published by this company and being a new unknown magazine, it is unlikely Market Force would be up for taking such a gamble. Whereas Frontline is the largest distribution company in the UK, with many connections and experience, they have a wide range of companies to supply to, which means they are perfect for magazines with a mass audience. To top this off, they even have experience in distributing music magazines similar to Replay, which is why Frontline has been chosen to distribute my magazine.
Clementine?
Oh, I'm alright, thanks, Dan. I'm not one for spending time.
I'm born for you.
I always do it by the wrong things.
Who do you think you are?
Oh, well, that's on BBC One right now.
Oh, I like that actually.
Oh, put it on.
Ross Whyatt is on the lookout for an audience for his new music magazine, Replay. He began his search 3 months ago, when he first decided on the genre for his magazine.
When creating Replay, I knew that I wanted to attract an audience similar to myself, so I could put my own thoughts and ideas into how the magazine would be made. I decided that my main style model would be Q, as Q appeals to a mass target audience rather than targeting a specific niche audience. I wanted to include a variety of different music genres in my magazine, but mainly mainstream kind of artists that would be seen in the charts, and also artists that would attract a young audience.
Ross wanted to attract an audience of both genders, aged 16 to 30, with working to middle class backgrounds.
I decided on using rather neutral colours that would appeal to both genders, so I decided on blue, black and white. When I carried out my initial research, this colour scheme appealed to both genders. I also decided on using male and female models in my magazine to attract an also similar audience. Similarly, I chose young artists that would also appeal to a young market. This was done because in my initial research I found that this target audience were more likely to buy a magazine if they could relate to the artist or were of a similar age of the artist shown in the magazine. The language used across my magazine reflected dialect and language that would be commonly associated with young adults, such as colloquial language.
You making tea?
I have a little bit.
All of the images that were taken for my magazine were original images taken on a Nikon D5100. I had to pay careful attention on the aperture focus and shutter speed when taking photos. I always had the camera set to manual setting so that I could maintain exactly how the picture would be taken. The focus is controlled by a turner at the front of the lens, whereas the aperture and shutter speed are controlled via the screen. The shutter speed depends on how long the shutter stays open to let light in, and the aperture helps with how deep the focus is. I've used Adobe software Photoshop throughout the whole of my project to correct and edit images throughout all three of my pages. First of all, with the main image for my front cover of Clara, or Rosa Garland, I've had to carry out various tasks to make the artist look more professional and to fit in with my magazine. With the original image, I started by making her face clearer, using the spot healing brush and clone stamp. I also used this clone stamp to remove the hairband around her wrist, by using patches of skin from around the same area to cover the band. The clone stamp was also used in the same way to get rid of the remainder of nail varnish that had been left on one of her fingers. This was all done to make the artist look more professional and presentable. To finish, I decided on repainting the artist's nails using the paintbrush tool in Photoshop, and then making it slightly transparent to make it look more realistic. I decided to use a blue nail varnish to fit in with the colour scheme of the magazine, so there was a connection between the image and the rest of the magazine. Finally, I used the lasso tool to cut the entire image out so I would have a transparent background to place into my magazine's front cover. I did the same with my image of Ian for the Mock Bastille album, so I could then place other items behind him such as a road and text. With the girl group, I used Photoshop to brighten up my original picture, but to also add a filter of vibrance to give the picture a pinkish tint to reflect the girly type of band they would be. To piece everything together, I then used Adobe software InDesign. I began by drawing out square frames to help give myself an idea of where each element on each page would go. This was an easy and accessible way of inserting all of my elements, such as images, straight from a Photoshop document into the final page. With the rough draft of my double-page spread, I encountered a problem with InDesign. I had created various frames to paste in my text, but this made the structure of my page look confusing and hard to manage. In the end, with this being so confusing, the text was messy and didn't even make sense, with sections being accidentally repeated. When I went back to editing this double-page spread, I found a tool in which I could keep the text continuing from one box to the next, without any interferences. This was a small square with a cross at the bottom of each text box, which when dragged to another, continued any text that would have been cut off.
Oh, Smoke Mario Voids, man, I love Smoke Mario Voids.
Are you being serious?
It's a brilliant TV programme. You're just jealous because most of the girls would say a void for you.
I am Pod, the personal overhaul device. Who are you?
Hi Pod, I am Ross, and this is my preliminary school magazine.
Ew, yuck. I'm not keen.
Oh, thanks Pod. What's wrong with it?
Well, you tell me.
Okay, well first of all, I'll start by saying I do like the picture I've used in here, and I like the fact that I've cut his head out around the logo. But I'm not too keen on the fonts. I feel they aren't sophisticated enough. They look a bit boring and something that has already been used before. And then also I feel the stories on the contents page, I've only got 3, whereas for a contents page people want to look in a contents page to see what stories are coming up. I also feel like, in terms of a school magazine, I've missed a few conventions that would usually be seen on a school magazine, such as the date or the issue number. Not necessarily a barcode on a school magazine, but I am missing a few conventions.
Exactly right. Let's see what your target audience thought about it. Run phase 1, public analysis.
I'd pure avoid that, like.
I'd avoid that.
Right, okay. Well, how about this?
What's that?
Well, this pod is my first rough draft for my music magazine.
Well, you've definitely improved. Let's see what your audience thinks.
I'd snog that.
I'm gonna snog it.
Okay, so on this one, I feel like I've used a lot more conventions of a music magazine. I've got a barcode down here, I've got the issue number, the logo looks much better. And also I've added more stories to the front cover. Same goes for the contents page. I've got a lot more images on here, a lot more text telling you what stories can feature. And also on both, I've used a consistent colour scheme, professional fonts, and I think it looks a whole lot more professional and consistent.
That sounds great. What next?
Okay, so for my final draft, on my cover I've also got a more appealing picture, which she's looking directly at the camera this time. I've made her a slight bit bigger, and I feel that would attract an audience more. Looking at other music magazines, I say that they include kind of a medium to close-up shot of the artist looking straight into the camera, and I feel that lacked on my rough draft. What I've also achieved here is I have, on my first draft here, I have everything seems to be one-sided, where on my final draft I've spaced it out on both sides, including this big bold text here saying Clara. On my contents page I've added a few more stories because I feel it lacked a few other stories, so I've put regulars and also an album of the month feature at the bottom there. As well as this, I've lightened up a few pictures, tweaked a few pictures a little bit, just so that the whole package looks sophisticated and professional.
I'd marry that one right now.
I'll marry that.
Probably marry it.
No, I'd marry him. Her. The magazine.
Fantastic job, Ross.
Thanks, Pod.